Okay, so let's look at a simple example of using Node.js on our computers. Hopefully by now you've gone to the Node.js website, nodejs.org, and downloaded Node.js onto your computer. Node.js gives us the ability to run JavaScript in our computers, either on a server. We've been using JavaScript in our client applications, our browsers up to now, but now we're going to start to see that we can run JavaScript from either a server side, from a web server, for example, or running it directly in our computer without having to have a browser in order to interpret the JavaScript. So I'm going to assume now that you have downloaded the Node.js onto your computer. And what I'm going to use is Notepad++ just for something very simple right now. We'll build up as we go. I've created an index.js file, just a simple Notepad application. And I'm going to do something simple. I'm going to do a console log. Of course, we have to do the hello world. So now that I'm running Node.js or JavaScript from my computer, I no longer have access to the DOM, so I can't do things like get element by ID or anything like that. So I'm just going to do a very simple hello world to the console, and you've seen that in your inspector elements before in our developer tools from the browser. All right, so how can I run that? Well, if I go into my command terminal, my command prompt, I'm just typing in CMD, or you can do run. My command prompt, hopefully this is something that if it doesn't look familiar, it'll become more and more familiar to you. So our command prompt is a command line editor. It gives us the ability to run commands from our command prompt. Okay, we've got that figured out. So here is the current path that I'm in, my C:users Markle. So if I do a dir, that gives us quite a number of things. In this directory, in this path, here's all of the folders and things that are currently available to me. I think the one I'm interested in would be, I have to scroll up. I was looking for my desktop. There's my desktop. So there is a directory or folder called desktop here. Just to kind of clarify, if you aren't already familiar with this concept, let me go into a file explorer and show you that what I'm looking at is I'm in my this PC, and I'm in, just as if I was in file explorer, I'm doing the same thing, C:users Markle. And so when I did the dir, this was the listing of everything that I got. So let's just see those side by side. So these are all the files and folders. This is from the old days where we didn't have all this pretty Windows GUI. This is how things used to look like. And so then I want to get to my desktop, which is here in my file explorer. And I saw it here in my listing. There's desktop there. So what I can do to get into that directory is I'm going to do change directory, or CD, over to the desktop. It's not case sensitive, so I can just do CD space desktop. And that is doing the same thing as if I had double clicked into desktop. Kind of the old fashioned way here. Oops, I lost my command prompt somewhere. Okay. So in my desktop then I can do, we did a dir, which is a directory listing of what's in my desktop. And I have the same things, the CIS-131 and KM. Okay, so I'm going to get out of the folder for now. Okay, File Explorer. We're going to do it from the command line. Okay, so I have in my index, let's see, in my CIS-131 folder, so I need to move into that CIS-131 folder, so change directory, CIS-131, and I'll do a dir, and I can see there's my index.js file, which was what I was working on here. Okay, so what is the point now? All right, well, the point here is that I want to be able to run this JavaScript in my command prompt. So let's first make sure that Node is installed. So I'm going to type the word Node and then -v for version. And if Node is installed properly, I will get returned the version that I have installed. So I know Node is working, no Node. I know that Node is working on this computer and that I should be able to run this file. So in the directory that I'm in, index.js, I can type in Node, in other words, run that file, that's the command, and I can type in index.js, or you can just type in index. And if I hit enter, there we go. There's my hello world. So I'm running JavaScript from my computer. Let's see. So what I want to demonstrate then from there is Visual Studio Code. You can certainly run any of your scripts this way, using your command line, using whatever editor you want. But the editor that I'm offering us to use is Visual Studio Code, which is not Visual Studio. So be careful with your defining the two. So now what I can do is, since I'm in this directory, I'm in this directory, what I can do with Visual Studio Code is I'm going to type the word code and a period. And the nice thing about Visual Studio Code here is now I can hit enter, and there's Visual Studio Code with the welcome screen, of course. It's opened up the folder that I'm in and the directory I'm in. So it says I'm in CIS 131, and there's my index file. Visual Studio Code ships with support for JavaScript, HTML, and CSS, so it makes it very easy for us to get up and running very quickly. If I double click on index.js, well, that's certainly much prettier than Notepad. But the nice thing about Visual Studio Code, besides the fact that it gives me all these little prompts, is I can have that terminal window right here within my editor. So if I go to View and I scroll down to Integrated Terminal or Control Backtick, then I get that same terminal window available to me that we just saw, but it's all integrated into the editor. So now if I type just same thing we did before, node and index, then it runs that command for me right inside the editor. So that's why it's nice having Visual Studio Code, because we get this editor inside the environment that we're working in. So that's an introduction to using Visual Studio Code and running Node applications from a terminal window in our computer.